It is another tough loss for the 49ers, losing 26-15 to the Houston Texans. The 3-4 Houston Texans, mind you, they were 2-5, 2-4, excuse me, coming into this game. And the Niners could not get the job done. This is a team coming off of a loss to the Seattle Seahawks where they got embarrassed. They look like a completely dysfunctional team. They came into this game without Nico Collins, without Christian Kirk. And yes, the Niners are battling injuries on their own, but they've proven that they can win. You know, they just beat the brakes off of the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football in front of the world, with the world watching. You start making everybody question, hey, hold on. Despite the injuries, maybe this team is a little legit. Maybe this team can be scrappy and make some noise in the playoffs. But then they just came out against an inferior Houston team and totally look like a dysfunctional roster. This looks like a team that is playing with backups on both sides, which, to be frank, that is the case. That is the case. Mac Jones starts, what is this, his fifth game starting, fourth, sixth game? I don't know. I've started to lose count at this point. Mac Jones, he goes 19 for 32, under 200 yards with 193, 2 touchdowns and an interception to seal the game. Not the greatest game in the world for Mac Jones. It was his worst game as a starter for the 49ers in this tenure that he's had. It's his second loss after the Tampa Bay game. He's really started to slow down a little bit. Maybe he's plateaued even against the Falcons. You know, that was mostly just a Christian McCaffrey game, which Christian McCaffrey didn't have his greatest game either. 8 carries for 25 yards. What is that, a season low? And only 3 receptions for 43 yards. So decent in the air, but on the ground, you would love to see him get over 25 yards, especially after his amazing performance in week 7 against the Falcons. No, there was no recap on that video. I ended up going to the game, and I had a very big paper due a couple days after that, and so I just didn't have the time to record and edit and everything for you guys, but I did make a long form TikTok, so if you did want to go check that out, my thoughts on the Falcons game, it'll be over there. But yes, this is definitely McCaffrey's worst game yet. The defense was simply all over him. DeMeco Ryans just knew exactly what Kyle Shanahan likes to do, what he wanted to do, how he does things. DeMeco Ryans just had a perfect game plan for his defense, and it really started in the trenches. It started with Will Anderson, it started with Danielle Hunter. Boy, this O-line was getting cut. This O-line was just chopped cheese out there. Just pressure from all sides, from the edges, from the interior. Will Anderson absolutely had a field day. He was taking Colton McKivit's lunch on that right side. And frankly, I think he even got Trent Williams a couple times. It would be a total mismanagement if this team doesn't address the offensive line concerns in the offseason. You can't do much midseason. Teams don't really trade quality offensive linemen like that, but I would certainly field calls if anybody is on the move. Definitely try to get them on board. You know, maybe you call up the Browns and maybe a Joel Bitonio or something like that if you can get them for cheap. That would be a welcomed addition, because guys like Dominic Pooney, who, you know, people are speculating maybe he's battling injury. You've got Matt Hennessy, who's starting his first game. He's filling in for Jake Brendel. You've got the rookie Connor Colby, who's filling in for Ben Barch. You know, those young guys, they're struggling out there, especially against a powerhouse defensive line that knows how to take advantage of them. And more receivers. Let's talk about the receivers. Jawan Jennings, 4 receptions for 45 yards, had some crucial drops. Jennings, honestly, I was such a big fan of him coming out of the draft. He had such great highs. He was this reliable, third in Jawan. But now he just has not looked like himself. Ever since, he's sat out wanting his contract extended, which I get. Okay, get your bag. But man, you have to be a little humble. And I'm sure these past couple weeks have humbled him a little bit. He had a very bad drop that could have kept the Niners in the game. It potentially could have been a touchdown. And it just seems like it's a constant thing. Week by week, Jennings is going to drop a ball. Kendrick Bourne was the second leading receiver with 3 catches for 44 yards. I'm cool with KB. I would love to see him get involved more, frankly. He's kind of the receiver 1 at the moment, if not McCaffrey, with obviously Pearsall being banged up and Brandon Ayuk. But man, yeah, Jennings, he can't be that receiver 1 on the team. George Kittle, National Tight End Day, he had 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown was huge just before halftime, kept the Niners in the game. And then Jake Tonjes was getting involved as well. He got himself a catch and a touchdown. It looked like it was going to Kittle. I think Tonjes might have got up and stole it, but regardless. He found the end zone. So just not great. Not great offense. Nobody really stood out. Jennings, I don't know what to think of him. I like him. I love him being a Niner, but man, he needs to get it together. He needs to figure it out. This team is missing Brock Purdy immensely. His mobility would have definitely been helpful against this Houston front. Mac Jones was able to evade a couple sacks. It's a miracle that only 2 sacks were given up. It seemed like he could have gotten down 9 times. And most of it, was him throwing the ball out or something. The thing with Purdy is he has that extension ability where he can get out of the pressure and go on and find somebody downfield or find the open man, wherever they are. So that's what made Brock Purdy so special. That's what this team is missing. With how bad this offensive line has been performing, they're missing that Brock Purdy extending plays specialty. So I am excited to have Brock Purdy back soon. Honestly, this team, it was just bad offense, bad defense. The game was lost in the trenches. We're going to move on to the defensive line at this moment now. Bad. Just bad. You must make a move. It's easier to trade for a D lineman than it is for an offensive lineman. And at this point, I know everybody wants an edge rusher. I will take an interior D lineman, just somebody. It can be literally anybody. Just show that you're not a sitting duck. Go out and get so some names that are out there. Quinnen Williams would be huge. He's worth a 2nd-round pick. Plus, he's under contract. I think that if you believe in this team, that is worth it. That could be a franchise guy. Kayvon Thibodeau, he is due for a contract. He could be solid if you can get for a cheap price. He could be a cheap 1-year rental. Jermaine Johnson from the Jets, I think he could be solid as well. Another guy who is going to be due for a contract soon. He has familiarity with Robert Saleh. I think he was a Saleh pick, and he's an athletic freak. Some other guys, Arden Key is, I feel like, the most realistic option with this team. Let's be fair. You might be able to get him for maybe a 6th-round pick, maybe a 7th even. So he could be. I don't think he's that game changer, but at the very least, just get anybody. If he comes on the team, great. And of course, the big boy is Trey Hendrickson, who is dealing with some injuries right now. So maybe you want to stay away with how injury prone this team is. And the injuries didn't stop. Samuel Kwanu, the defensive end, he gets injured. He was starting his first game. He was supposed to be, he's the solid guy. He is solid. I like Samuel Kwanu. He does the job. He gets the job done. He's not wrecking havoc, but he'll get the job done as a rotational piece. And Jordan Elliott, the interior defensive tackle, he gets injured, and he is a big boy. He's the one, he makes a lot of special teams plays. He got a blocked kick against, I believe, Tampa Bay. He's a big guy. I like having his big frame in the middle, but now he's injured. You just need bodies. You need guys. I'm not opposed to making 2 moves for the defensive lineman with how injured this team is. You're relying on so many rookies. Even guys like CJ West is injured. Alfred Collins got a little banged up. Michael Williams, your 11th overall pick, is good. I know people are hating on him all over Twitter. I still believe in him. But with how young he is, how raw he is, he can't be that number 1 pass rusher at the moment. Maybe he can develop into that guy. Mind you, he's still, only 21 years old? He is not that pass rushing guy. He doesn't have the moves in his moveset, in his backpack. That's why Bryce Huff was so valuable, because Bryce Huff was able to cause some havoc in the pocket, and Michael Williams could clean it up. Michael can't do that without Bryce Huff. Obviously, or without Nick Bosa. That defensive line would have been so sick to watch if Nick Bosa didn't get injured. And obviously, if Bryce Huff was playing, this could be a different game. Bryce Huff was that guy, mind you. So, super unfortunate stuff. The D-line is just so banged up, just so hurt. And you have to make a move. You have to bring some guys on board that are not in the facility. Because clearly, sticking with what you're doing, sticking in facility, not gonna work. It hasn't worked. The linebackers, and man, Tatum Bethune, he's filling in for Fred Warner, and he's trying his best out there. He's young. He was a late round draft pick a couple years back. He is doing his best. And his best obviously isn't Fred Warner yet, maybe one day. But man, Fred Warner's impact is definitely missed. You can just see it. The defense looks all over the place, and you can see a lot of things going over the middle that might not happen if Fred Warner plays, because Fred sees the game totally different than anybody else. And speaking of the linebackers, D. Winters, now he gets injured. We don't know the severity of the injury yet, but it seemed pretty bad, and he might be missing a couple weeks. So another linebacker, another defensive starter injured, missing multiple weeks. Great. You'll love to see it. Man, Nick Martin has to be great. He hasn't made his debut yet, but he has to be legendary. He needs to be playing like nothing else matters. He needs to play like his hair is on fire every single snap. We just need that type of energy. And so I hope when Nick Martin gets his chance, he makes the most out of it, because he has to. The team needs him to. I would love a trade at the linebacker, but there is talent in-house. Bethune has shown flashes, especially against the Falcons. And you want to see what you have in Nick Martin. And then D. Winters, hopefully his injury is not too crazy. So we'll see what happens in the linebacking situation, but it's just such a young core of guys. It's tough to ask a ton out of them. And now the secondary, the last level of defense, and man, they were getting cooked too. Let's be quite frank. Malik Mustafa has lost his step, and it could just be obviously still dealing with that injury. Maybe he's not 100,000%, and he's a little rusty. That could be it, giving him the benefit of the doubt. But he's not playing like that heat-seeking missile that we all know and love him for. So hopefully he can get back onto that as the season progresses. Jair Brown, he just simply isn't that good. There's no working around it. Jair Brown is not that good. Jason Pinnock, in my opinion, was better. Okay, I really didn't see Pinnock getting burned. I didn't hear Pinnock's name very much, which is a good thing as a DB, So I would throw Pinnock back in there. Or Marquise Sigel, just somebody instead of Jair Brown. See if you can trade him, get some picks out of him, get some value out of him. Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green, they're solid. Obviously, Lenore is elite. He is a very underrated quarterback. Renardo Green is still young. He is still finding his footing in the league. And, teams have tried to pick on him a couple times. I would like to see him progress a little bit better. I would like to see him take that next step. So we'll see how that goes about. I'm not ready to call him bad yet, but I would say he's solid. He's not on the level of Lenore yet, but he's better than Upton Stout in the slot, which is kind of an interesting position at the moment. Upton Stout, he is young. He is small, but he's had some good plays. He's had some good tackles, especially as a blitzer. He's a really good blitzer when Saleh designs those blitzes for him out of that slot position. But Chase Lucas deserves a shot after his Sunday night performance against the Falcons. Chase Lucas should have been the starter, in my opinion. He should have had the move over Upton Stout. Stout is still young. He's still learning. And I think that Chase Lucas just would have gave a better chance with being in that slot than I think he's just a better coverage guy right now. He looked good in the preseason. He looked good in Atlanta. I would love to see Lucas in the slot position. But there is some silver lining, something to celebrate. The 49ers get their first interception after, 14, 15 games, the longest drought in NFL history for a team to go without an interception. Finally break that curse. Unfortunately, it came with an L. I thought that would turn the tide. Diamador Lenore, before the first half ended, he gets a pick, and there was like 3 seconds on the clock as he's running, and we're just screaming, get down. Hopefully he can settle for a field goal, and he didn't get down. He wanted to score, which I can't blame him. I'm sure the team talks about it every week. Who's going to get that interception? I'm happy it was Diamador Lenore. He deserves it. But yeah, man, this game was just bad. It was a tough loss. It seemed like from the beginning, from the get-go, Houston's offense was just moving. Even without Collins and Kirk, Stroud was just dealing. He was on one, and so you got to give credit there. The 49ers now move to third in the division. The Seahawks and the Rams sit at 5-2. They both had bye weeks, and so that's why, so still same amount of wins, but technically because they have that loss. So we're rooting for them to lose next week. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, this was just a bad game. I don't necessarily think it's the identity of the team. I don't think that this is a bad team still. This was a game that they should have won. Absolutely, 6-2 would have been beautiful. But as crazy as it is, I wouldn't write off the Niners just yet. This is still a super beat up, banged up team that they're easy to write off. But hey, the Texans defense is legit. The Texans defense seems like they can battle with any team in the league. So the defense will keep them afloat. The Texans. The Niners, they just have to get healthier, whatever that means at this point. It's just, I guess, Purdy, Pearsall, and Ayuk, and then some of those guys on defense, D. Winters, Bryce Huff, and then you have to make a move. If you really want to contend, you have to make a move, absolutely. But ultimately, bad games happen to good teams. We've seen the Bills lose some to bad teams. We've seen the Chiefs not look so great. So I would say, it's not time to panic yet. The season isn't over. Just have to make moves. Give this team some juice. Give this team some energy. Give the fans something to root for. And, maybe we'll be all right. Maybe we'll be all right. I wouldn't write us off just yet. 5-3 is still a good record. Mind you, the NFC is very competitive. It is a bloodbath. There's a lot of teams with 5 wins in the NFC. So if you want to make a playoff spot, you got to win games. You got to win games, especially win your division. Let's host a playoff game, huh? Purdy, we'll see if he's back this week. Pearsall, same thing. Ayuk, I would say hopefully in 2 weeks. The 49ers take on the New York Giants in MetLife on that MetLife field, so that should be great. We got to wrap our boys in bubble wrap. We got to wrap up their legs and make sure nobody else gets out for an extended period of time. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Gold Rush. I'm your host, Javen Takar. Not a great loss, not a great video to make, but a lot of lessons to learn from this game. So I will see y'all in the next one. We got to talk about some more trade candidates. We got to talk about the state of the team. So there's a lot to talk about. But in the meantime, make sure you go on ahead, you leave a comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. I love talking with y'all down there. While you're down there, take a look in the description for all my other social media, the TikTok, the Twitter, the Instagram. Folks, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.